I would like to start by saying that in every field, there is always that one topic that everyone or at least someone will find challenging, not necessarily because it's like very difficult. Maybe you didn't really pay much attention to it, right? And actually, the best way to learn something very difficult or something you find challenging is to teach it, right? And that's why today I'll be taking you through a beginner's guide on how to create IT business value through the understanding of ITIL for foundations. My name is Nnanna Melaugha. I'm an IT project assistant with Emigrate, and we'll be looking at an introduction to IT service management. So, IT service management. Let's break that down. First, what is an IT service? An IT service is simply put when someone in a professional in IT comes to offer you a service in terms of hardware, software, or like technical support on your system. That's basically a service. An IT service is basically combining technology and support to basically meet your needs, right? So we all know what an IT service is. We all have experienced IT services, or we have all received IT services at some point. An IT service could be, you have an issue with your mail, you have an issue with your Wi-Fi, you're in a company, and then you reach out to IT support. Someone, a personnel comes, helps you, fixes the issue. That's an IT service. Now, adding the word management, what's an IT service management? Management simply means how you manage that service, right? IT service management is how organizations manage and deliver IT services to meet business needs. Anyone can render an IT service if you're not an IT professional, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that IT service is of a good standard or that IT service would continue to meet your business needs subsequently, right? So they're like a set of this IT service management now is like a set of principles or policies or guidelines that IT professionals follow in order to offer IT services in a way that meets the needs of the end users. End users could be, the employees, the customers, and whatnot. So ITSM isn't just about the technology, right? It's about the people, the processes, and the tools. All these things, putting together, working together to create value for create value for customers and for the business. So now you have an idea of what IT service management is about. Now, why ITSM matters to businesses, right? One, it reduces costs. Aside, you know, when you do proper IT service management, right? When you get the right professionals, they're able to streamline processes and make use of fewer resources and better budget management. ITSM also matters to business in terms of improving the customer experience. When an IT professional comes, tackles an issue, goes through the right methods, follows through the set policies and guidelines, as a customer or as a recipient of an IT service, you'll be satisfied. You'll be you'll be comfortable with the service being rendered to you. You know. Also, IT service management helps manage the risk, right? You can't have a situation where someone who's not an IT professional trained under like the principles of IT service management, a random person comes to offer. That's why most times we get a service, right? And then we're like, "Ah, this is not a good service. We have to call the person again to come redo the same job." But an IT professional trained under IT service management will be able to manage risks and follow like structured approaches to protect the business from disruptions and provide permanent solutions to issues. It also boosts productivity. The example I just gave, instead of spending time reiterating, going over the same problem, proper IT management will be able to boost productivity. You have an issue, they are able to follow the set guidelines and procedures, get the job done, and then you're able to focus on the work that you're doing, right? So now we've talked about IT services. We've talked about IT service management. Now you may ask, what is ITIL? ITIL stands for Information Technology Infrastructure Library, right? So this, like I mentioned, the set of principles or policies that are followed in order to, render these IT services in a way that meets the end user's needs. They are those set of policies and procedures. They are like a framework. They are like a guideline, and that's what ITIL is. ITIL is like a comprehensive guidebook. It's a collection of best practices that helps the organization deliver IT services. Just like, cooking, different people, like if I want to cook now, let me say cooking is like an IT service, for example. I could just, if I want to cook rice, I could just put all the ingredients in a pot, pour water and just boil it. It comes out as food or rice. I've delivered my service, right? True. But I've not delivered that properly, right? If you're able to manage resources, take care of your ingredients, preserve them properly, go through this set guidelines, following like your recipe menu, your recipe guidelines, like a comprehensive guidebook in order to offer the best service, in order to come up with the best tasting meal, in order to deliver your service in the best possible way to satisfy your customers, your employees, and whatnot. So ITIL is basically that framework. ITIL is basically that comprehensive guidebook, right? And it was created in the 1980s by the UK government, and it has lived and evolved through all these years, and it evolved from the 1980s. We have ITIL version 1, 2, 3, and now in 2019, ITIL version 4, and that's what we're currently using today. And the key benefits, we have standardized process across teams. So not every individual IT professional comes up with his own standardized process, like there are set of standardized processes. So when you have an issue, there's already like a set template in order to fix that issue. And if it's unique in its own way, that IT professional is able to build upon that, right? It helps improve service quality, helps better business IT alignment and common vocabulary for like IT professionals. So this is looking at the journey of ITIL, right? Started in 1989, went over to version 2 in the 2000s, version 3, 2007, and it became more flexible and more holistic in 2019. So ITIL 4 represents that significant shift, moving from the rigid processes that were like used previously to a more holistic and value-driven approach that works with today's fast-paced digital world, right? It incorporates lean, agile, and DevOps while maintaining ITIL's proven foundations. Now, some of the concepts you need to know about ITIL, service, right? We are trying to facilitate the outcomes that customers want. Like as an IT personnel offering a service, you're trying to make sure the outcome that the customers need, you're able to deliver that, you're able to offer that service. And in the process of offering that service, you're also offering value, right? That's the second concept we're looking at. Value, that's the perceived benefits or usefulness and importance of something, right? Being able to solve a problem, you're actually offering value as well. The service you offer offers value. Then talking about stakeholders, anyone with an interest in involvement, this is talking about the customers, it's talking about the employees, could even involve, these IT professional as well. So these are all stakeholders in the whole ITIL process. And then value co-creation. So value is never created alone, right? In order for value to be created, you need service providers, you need the IT professionals providing the service or rendering the service that offers a value to a customer, right? All this together come together to bring about value co-creation. Then we also have 7 guiding principles for the ITIL framework, right? These are universal principles. They guide organizations in all circumstances, regardless of changing goals, and they represent the core message that apply across the entire framework, right? So these 7 guiding principles, one, you're focusing on value, right? every single service you're trying to render or try to offer, you're trying to offer value as well. So the main focus of this framework is trying to offer value, focus on value. And second is you're starting where you are, right? You're not starting from scratch because like I mentioned, there's a framework for these things. So they're already like set of guidelines, principles, you know, best practices that are already put in place. So you're not trying to solve a problem from scratch. There's already a guidebook for you to follow. And if there's any peculiarities, you'll be able to work from there. That's what they mean by start where you are rather than starting from scratch. All these things have already like been built, right? Then third is you're progressing iteratively with feedback, right? So you're not just you have a problem, you have an issue, you just go all the way, fix it. You're progressing iteratively, like agile methodology, working in small steps, trying to get feedback from the customer, make sure you understand there's an understanding, there's transparency, and you're able to render that service properly. Collaborate and promote visibility, right? Working across boundaries, also promoting the transparency, then thinking and working holistically, right? And I'll give an example of this, right? One time, I had an issue with my LinkedIn, right? I reached out to the IT for support, right? And they were not able to help resolve my issue. They were also able to think holistically and think about, okay, aside fixing just the issue you're having, what about the others? What about like this issue? Imagine it being a whole issue. How can we also resolve? So they were able to make certain inquiries about my issue in order to avoid, further, let's say, spread of the issue to other, colleagues in order to like prevent it ahead of time, right? That's also like a proactive way of thinking and also thinking and working holistically. So sixth is trying to keep it simple and practical, right? There is no need to bring in so many technical terms, complicate matters, break it down, keep it as simplistic as possible. And that's what I'm trying to do with this knowledge development session, trying to break down the whole ITSM, ITIL principles and management to make it more like understandable, because I myself previously I didn't really get the understanding, but now with like in-depth research, I've been able to grasp it a lot better. Then the seventh is optimize and automate, right? Using resources wisely and automating repetitive tasks where it makes sense, right? We're in the modern day and age, we're seeing AI tasks, automating, repetitive and like manual tasks, which you don't need to dedicate time for. You're not like getting any benefit spending time doing like redundant tasks, right? Then yeah, talking about the IT service value system, right? This is ITIL4's central operating model, shows all the components and activities working together. So this service value system basically takes inputs like opportunity and demand, right? Opportunity to offer a service, the demand to render a service, right? It takes this and as inputs, converts all of them into valuable outputs through these interconnected components, one being the guiding principles, those seven we just mentioned that help, make informed decision. We have the governance, help provide direction. We also have the service value chain, which we'll look into subsequently. It helps transform inputs. We have practices. We have like those guidelines, those set of best practices that you'll be able to use to make life easier for you. You're not starting from scratch. They help assist you, right? Then there's continual improvements that drives optimization. And I believe as time goes on, there's always improvement and like additions being made to the ITIL framework. Then yeah, the service value chain explained, right? Looking at this, think of it as a flexible operating model, right? It's not a rigid process. It's not something, oh, you have to do this before you do this. It's flexible. You can iterate, right? So the first step could be plan. You have an issue or you have series of issues in the office, for example, you're an IT professional, you need to plan, you need to understand the vision, the status and direction of improvement, right? You can make improvement on some previous processes in order to make, solving a problem easier. Then you also engage, like this is where I talk about transparency, engage with the stakeholder, engage with the customer, or the person you're rendering the service to, get to understand their problem, right? Trying to make it your own, get the full scope of it. Then now you're trying to design and transition. You're trying to make sure that service you're trying to render, that um, solution you're trying to design will be able to meet the expectation of the stakeholder, right? And to be ready to use. You want something that is not lacking in any area. That's why you're trying to engage and get the full scope of the problem or issue from the stakeholder, right? So you're trying to design this solution. After designing, you're trying to, acquire relevant service components and other things that you need. Then you deliver this, right? You deliver this solution, provide services according to the agreed specification, right? So even after delivering, it could be that there's still one small component that, okay, you missed out somehow. But then, like I said, this is a flexible process. It's not a rigid process. You can go back, re-engage with the with the stakeholder, right? Or you go back and you plan or redesign. So you can see it's not a rigid process, is something flexible, like the service value chain. So these activities can be combined in different ways depending on the situation. There's no single correct sequence. Flexibility is the key, and that is the strength of this model. So we'll be talking about the IT practices, right? So in the version 4, as opposed to the version 3 had to deal with more of, I think, a couple of processes. But now, moving over to version 4, we've transitioned from processes to like practices, right? So ITIL4 consists of 34 practices. These are set of organizational resources designed for performing work or accomplishing objectives, right? Like I mentioned, they replace the processes from ITIL for 3 versions. And these 34 practices have been grouped into 3 different categories, right? So we have 14 different practices for general business management, right? We have 17 different practices for that are specific to IT service management. Like, for example, you have an issue, there's, let me say, issue with your Windows update, you're new to the issue, you can always go review like some of the practices that, that exist for issues like this. It's like documentation, right? You revisit them and you're able to, those information are able to assist you, right? Then you have technical management, you have 3 practices for that. And you can look at some of the common examples of these practices, incident management, change enablement, you know, it's just like a service description document that we have. So that's what all these practices are about. They're like documentation, information, holding that hold like things you will need, and not only you, subsequent people that are coming after you, like maybe in the office or something. So yes, that brings me to the end of my knowledge development session today. So thank you, everyone. I hope I was able to at least break down the whole ITSM, ITIL. Those can look like, very big words or very like complicated things. I hope I've been able to break it down a little and giving you a strong enough foundation for you to move on from here onwards and dive deeper into the different practices or different IT service management tools. Thank you very much. So are there any questions? Hello, is someone there? Olabisi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, cool. So does anyone have any question? I didn't really prepare any question to ask, so um, let's see.
Hi, Nnanna.
Hello, Olabisi.
Okay, you don't have any question for us?
No.
Okay, thank you very much for that insightful presentation. I must say I've learned one thing on this call. So I don't know if anyone has a question for Nnanna as we round up this section. Do you have any question at all? So Nnanna, even if you don't have any question, you might just call someone on the call to tell us what you understand by your presentation before we round up. You know, what they have learned by what you have presented this morning before we round up.
All right. Okay. All right. David, can you tell me a couple of things you learned? Maybe how you perceived the session. Was it insightful? What are the things you learned?